Good morning, YouTube. It's a nice cool morning here in Florida, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to shoot a Cowboy coffee tutorial video. So I like to come out into my little bushcraft area here on my property on the weekend mornings and kick my weekend off right by cooking some coffee over the fire. And this is the kit that I bring with me. And I guess we'll start off by covering the items that I bring in my kit to make my Cowboy coffee. Enjoy. Okay, this is the kit that I use to make my Cowboy coffee. By no means is this all-inclusive or mandatory or in any way representative of the only way to make Cowboy coffee. I mean, there's probably 100 different ways to do this. This is just how I operate. So first thing I have is my Bulgarian eBay hatchet. I have my Pathfinder knife shop buffalo skinner knife. And I guess, I don't know, eventually I'll probably do a review on some of these individual pieces of gear, but we're just going to do a brief overview. I have a fire steel, a knife sharpening stone, my Swiss Army knife. This is the Huntsman model. Highly recommend it. What else? What else we got in here? I'll also use, this is my Silky Ultra Excel curve saw. Also highly recommend it. I have a small whittling kit. Sometimes I'll do some whittling while my coffee is cooking or after it's done. Got a little toilet paper. Hey man, you're cooking some coffee, that might come in candy. Here's a spoon knife. What else? And then for the actual coffee cooking process, I have a couple of Tupperware containers. In the top one I keep my creamer and sugar because I'm just soft like that. I guess if you're if you're a traditional Cowboy coffee cooker, you might not need that. And then under that I have my coffee grounds. So probably about 3 tablespoons of grounds is what I'm going to use for 1 liter of coffee. And then, I'm sorry, in here's, I keep it in a cloth bag because I want to keep the rest of my kit clean because this will get dirty with the coffee in there. And when I pack up, I want to keep that mess from migrating everywhere in my pack. So this is some old school tin coffee cup. Been using it for years. I just get a kick out of it because it's kind of modeled after an 1800s coffee cup, so that appeals to me. I dig it. You could use any cup. And then for the coffee pot itself, another bag. This coffee pot does get pretty gross because you're cooking over the fire with it. So that bag keeps the rest of my gear clean. And then the coffee pot itself, this is an Ozark Trail stainless steel coffee pot. I've modified it by drilling a couple holes in the top and rigging a coat hanger in there for a bail. Over the years, it came with a percolator on the inside. So the outside's gross, the inside, that's what counts, right? Nice and clean in there. So, but anyway, the percolator died on me after probably a year of use. The weak point was like where that stainless steel straw meets with the base. I guess that's press fit, and that finally gave way. So that's when I really kind of got into the Cowboy coffee cook mindset. I was like, well, maybe I don't need the percolator, and I'm really glad I did. And I've enjoyed using this as a Cowboy coffee pot. So Ozark Trail pot, highly recommend it. And that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, and I'm gonna use a liter of water. You know, I'll use a platypus canteen for this. Any water container will work. I just had the platypus. So, you know, if you want to go more old school, you could get like a, I don't know, a leather canteen or whatever, but liter of water. There you go. Okay, so that's the equipment that I use. Now the process itself, the first thing I like to do is generate some fat wood scrapings to start my fire with. You don't have to use fat wood. You could use birch bark or dried grass, man-made fire starters, whatever you want to use. But to be authentic and bushcrafty, this is how I operate. I'll use this Pathfinder Nice Shop buffalo skinner come with a real nice 90-degree spine on the back. So that's what I'll use to scrape down some fat wood shavings. And you can see that it goes pretty quick. If you don't want to use the back of your knife, you know, anything with a 90-degree spine on it. Here's my silky saw. Same process, maybe not quite as quick, but I get a finer shaving. Works just the same. Whoops. Whoopsie. But anyway, you get the idea. Man, look at that. Look at how quick and effortless that knife works, boy. That's just something. But out in the field, you know, I probably wouldn't have a piece of fat wood stick this thick. It might be something smaller, but this is just for demonstration purposes. You get the idea. So I got myself a good start right there. So the idea is you want to get enough of that so that you get yourself a good enough burn time to get your twig fire going. So this right here will probably burn for, I don't know, 5 minutes. Plenty of time to light up some twigs. Okay, here you're seeing the entire Cowboy camp. So we're gonna cook this coffee over the fire on a tripod. Now, you don't have to do that. I mean, you could cook this oh, there's my little puppy. She's on high alert. You could cook this coffee in your kitchen on an electric range. I mean, I think that's blasphemy, but hey, if that's what you want to do, you can do it that way. You could do it like I did a Firebox Nano demonstration video, and you could definitely cook this over a Firebox Nano if you were in a situation where you didn't have a whole lot of firewood or you just wanted to keep things low key. Boom. But anyway, get down to it. Here's how I like to lay my fat wood out on top of a palmetto bush so that it keeps it off the wet ground, wet cold ground. You know, that can suck the heat out of your fire. So you want to definitely keep that fat wood off the dirt. You could use sticks or whatever you got, but I like a palmetto frond here in Florida. And then I got my my twigs lined up ready to go, and then my actual thumb size fuel wood, I guess, next to that, so that once I get this fire kicked off, I don't have to be running around looking for wood. Everything's ready to go. So let's start that process now. So we're going to use a ferrocerium rod to light the fat wood on fire, just like that. Just give it a second to catch a little bit better and spread out, and then I'll daintily put my twigs on top of that. No real elaborate fancy setup, just down and dirty. There it goes. And then I'll start building on top of that with my pencil-sized wood. And then once that burns through, my flame's on top of that pencil-sized wood, I'll go to my thumb-sized sticks. And that's it. My fire is pretty well established. I'm ready to start cooking. So I guess I should cover this cook system real quick here, how I got this worked out. So with this tripod, I just have a piece of 550 cord coming down, and I have several notches at different heights cut into this piece of oak here. So there's one notch cut at the bottom, and that's what my pot hooks into. And then to adjust the height of it, I just pick a notch. If I want to go lower, I drop it down. If I want to go higher, I raise it up to one of these higher notches, and that gives me the ability to control the heat. So if my pot starts boiling over or looking like it's getting too much heat, I raise it up. If my fire dies down, I can lower the pot down, get closer to the coals. So that's my heat control system for this cook setup. Okay, that's what we're after right there. Good strong roll and boil. So I'll let that cook like that for a minute or two, and then we'll pull it off the heat. Alright, so we're done cooking here, so I'm going to grab my pot, pull it off the heat. Set it down. Now you'd think that this whole situation would get hot from being over the fire, but this bale stays relatively cool. I can pick it up with my hand 99% of the time, at least unless the flames are actually licking the bale itself. It's going to stay cool enough that I can operate the pot without using gloves or a stick or whatever. So the next step for my Cowboy coffee is I will just let it set for a good minute, 2 minutes, and that just gives all the grounds time to settle down. Now in this case, I've got some grounds that worked their way up. I don't know if you could see it, but they worked their way up for whatever reason up to the spout area. So what I'll do is I'll tilt that a little bit so that that coffee will wash those grounds into the brew. And then I'll let it sit for about a minute, minute and a half. And that just gives the grounds time to settle down. Now a lot of guys are advocates of taking some cold potable water at this point and running it down the spout and around the edge to wash those grounds off. And also that cold water will help the settling process, so it'll settle the grounds on the bottom of the pot better. But I've found that that step is unnecessary. I mean, I don't know, if like, I guess if like you were having the Pope over, or like the president or something, and you really wanted some presentable Cowboy coffee, that's probably the optimal way to do it, because you will not get any grounds at all in your cup if you do it that way. The way that I do it, sometimes I will get a very thin layer of coffee silt on the bottom of my coffee cup, but to me that's negligible. There's not, you know, it's not like you hear about online where you're going to be filtering coffee grounds with your teeth when you're drinking Cowboy coffee. It's not like that at all. This is a very, very smooth cup of coffee, and I think, I mean, it might just be in my imagination, but I think cooking it over the fire out here, Cowboy style, with the grounds directly in the water, I think you get just a richer, more flavorful cup of coffee than any other cup of coffee you're going to drink. It's very pleasant to me. I really enjoy it. So anyway, while I'm waiting for that to settle down, I'll usually get myself a stick. Come over here to the fire. In this case, it's a long piece of fat wood. I'll stick that in the fire. That'll get to burning pretty efficiently. And then I'll light myself, I'll light my cigar up. when I first started doing this, I had concerns that the fat wood flavor the cigar, but that has not materialized. So works out just fine. But if you're worried about it, you could use a regular stick as a match. But yeah, that's a nice cigar right there. So by now my coffee's probably settled down enough to where, and my handle cooled off already. I can pour that into my cup, and I just like to take my time. I don't want to jostle things up too much, but just pour that right in there. And you can see that's a nice, dark, rich brew. And that's the key, is just take your time, filling your cup up. Man, that just looks delicious. It smells great. This is a huge coffee pot too. I mean cup, so it holds more than a regular cup. And I drink this whole thing, and man, I'm raring to go. But there you go, the bottom of the pot. I don't know if you could see it, but that's where all your grounds are at. So they stayed in there. My coffee here, pretty much ground free. And now I'll just take my time, enjoy my morning cup of coffee and my cigar out here in nature by my campfire. And I mean, this, man, oh yeah, that's delicious. That is spot on. But this is what life's all about for me right here, man. Just being out in the woods, enjoying nature, and soaking up some old school ambiance. Just kind of washes my work week right off my body. Feels so good. I come out of the woods, I feel refreshed, invigorated, and I don't know, I love it. All right, so I'm down to the bottom of my cup of coffee, and you can see I didn't get a single ground in it while I was drinking it, and that's the totality of the grounds that are going to be in that cup of coffee. And they just sink right to the bottom, so not an issue. A word of warning though, probably between 10 minutes and an hour after drinking some hot, fresh Cowboy coffee, you can expect the call of the wild to kick in. I mean, I don't know if you got a problem being regular or anything, this is going to solve that. It's good medicine. Works every time. Probably more information than you needed. But there you go. That's my Cowboy coffee tutorial. Did the whole thing with the Ozark Trail coffee pot I got in Walmart for, I don't know, 12 bucks, whatever it was. The thing's magical. I've been using it for years. Highly recommend it for this type of operation. Like I say though, you can make Cowboy coffee in anything. You can make it in a regular pot. You could cook it in a metal canteen if you can get your grounds in there. Just the same process, really. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And I hope you have a fantastic morning. Will out. One more thing I almost forgot to mention. When I started off on my search for a good Cowboy coffee pot, I had tried out the models with the glass or plastic percolator bulb on the top of them, and I went through maybe 2 or 3 of those. I found that they can't withstand the high heat of cooking over a campfire, and they'll break every time. That little plastic bulb or glass bulb on the top breaks, cracks, and once that thing goes out, that pot's not serviceable anymore. So that's why I flipped over to that Ozark Trail pot with the solid top. And it's really not a problem to know when it's percolating, because you can hear it. and the whole pot will kind of like vibrate a little bit. So if you're paying attention, you don't need that little bulb to tell you when your coffee's working. It's evident. So anyway, thought I'd add that in there in case you guys were looking at that type of a pot.